And is there any addition to the agenda tonight?
There are two, Your Worship.
Okay.
So two administrative reports.
Okay.
One's going to be financing public works facility through a debenture. And then the second will be active living center design, long-term financing. So those will be B and C under number 10.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Anything else? Oh, geez. Turned it off instead of on. Okay, with that being said, I have a motion here that council hereby sets the agenda for Monday, July 21st, 2025. Regular meeting of council is circulated or amended. As you noted, there was two additions to the agenda. Moved by Councillor Balancing by Councillor Lakes. Any questions? All in favor?
Of the agenda or the minutes?
Well, that's the next one coming up.
Okay, I had a question on the minutes.
Yeah, no problem. All in favor of that one? Good, thank you. And Councillor Giuliano, just so I don't look at you, just speak up if I miss you by for anything, right? I try to look at the screen. Thank you. I need to.
Can I just check my voice is on?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. We can hear you perfect. Thank you. Any declaration of interest? Hearing none, I do have a motion. Everybody adopts the minutes of regular meeting of council were held, as well as the closed meeting of council were held on Monday, June 23rd, 2025, circuit amended. Moved by Councillor Bell, second by Councillor Lake. Any addition, errors or omissions on them? Councillor Lake?
I just have one question on, it was a follow-up question. I don't know if this is actually, you're allowed to do this, but Councillor Giuliano brought up the CIPC program, the immigration program. You talked about it at NOMA.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering if we have moved that to the appropriate people or if there's any movement for the folks that are trying to talk to us.
Yeah, so under the discussion, we discussed with MP Haiju, as well as NOMA has taken it to the Minister of Labor at the AMO conference. So we've got all the bases touched, I think, but we'll see where that takes us to for the next level. But we're working on it, but it's like frustrating as well.
Yeah, as recently as Friday, the mayor and I met with Minister Haiju on that subject along with others.
And I'm just looking to reassure the folks that came.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll reports. Go ahead, David. Councillor Giuliano, sir.
I was going to let you know, I did follow up with Tyler and the Chamber of Commerce. They know what Mayor Dumas is doing in that regard.
Thank you. And as I said, NOMA's got a request for a delegation. We just got approval from Minister Pacini's office that we'll be meeting with them at the AMO conference.
Thank you.
Okay. So that being said, I'll call a question on favor. Carried. Thank you. Right up into the Sierra River report on the Active Living Center, Mr. Skrzynski.
So it's just a very brief verbal update, but just to update council where we're at in the process. As you know, we closed the tender on May the 27th. Since that time, we've been in tender negotiations. So it's a 60-day window to negotiate the tender with the potential successful bidder, which we can't release because it's legally binding at this time. And we're just in the process of completing the value engineering exercise, which is really fancy terminology for looking at every line item in the tender to see where we can find cost savings. So since May 27th, we've been working very diligently, Mr. Paris and I, with our consultant team and finding those cost savings. And I would expect we'll have a more wholesome update for council in the next 30-day window.
Great. Any questions, Mr. Skrzynski? We've had a lot of behind-the-scenes meetings as well. Mr. Skrzynski and I with the federal and provincial representatives from both infrastructures, programs, recreation build programs. You name it, we've been happening. We just recently had a meeting with the Premier's office this afternoon in regards to the bill. So all those things are working behind the scenes, trying to bring it all together. And it's hopefully coming together, but as you know, it is a process and it's a big build. So we have to make sure we're at the front of the podium and hopefully we're getting recognition in that regard. So we'll have an update on that in regards to Mr. Skrzynski in the near future as well. And hopefully sometime in early August, we'll have some more information on those other regards for fundings. Up next, we have administration report update and asset management plan. Mr. Verbo, please.
The meeting of November 25th last year, council approved the updated asset management plan to satisfy the 2024 deadline as stipulated in Ontario Regulations 588-17, which is phase 2. At the June 23rd meeting, council agreed to a financial strategy of an annual dedicated tax levy for capital. Public Sector Digest has incorporated the financial strategy into the 2024 asset management plan. The updated plan will be posted on the town's website, and the Ministry of Infrastructure will be notified that our plan satisfies all of the requirements of Ontario Regulations 588-17. The consultant's cost to date for the plan was $47,000. Current regulations state that asset management plans must be updated every 5 years. The administration is looking for a resolution accepting the attached 2025 asset management plan.
46,000, wow, man, crazy. All right.
Oh, page paper.
A motion of council hereby accept the attached report and updated asset management plan and further that council adopts 2025 asset management plan as presented. Moved by Council Ruler, second by Council Lake. Any questions? Council Lake?
So when we build new, will that make all our numbers look better on asset management? Because you have new buildings now, so that investment would be part of hitting those targets.
Right. Anytime there's several things that we can do. We can replace, and also we can, if we want, get more consultants or whatever and look underground to see the conditions of our subterranean assets, which we have an idea based on age, but they haven't been investigated yet.
It just seems like a pretty low actual reinvestment rate when we just did a public works garage. That to me is a huge reinvestment in
Yes,
structure.
but again, the roads, water, sewer are a substantial amount of the inventory too.
And we do have plumbing in the ground that's still 75, 80 years old, right? So it's in what kind of shape? As you said, we have some camera work done and some ideas what it looks like, but the reality is this could be a huge cost. As we know, we're just doing a little renovation in Howe Yawkey / the 19 lot subdivision for $3.5 million. You know, it doesn't take much. So some of the key stats, I think probably should be aware of this because I don't think too many people actually ever come in and ask you questions about the asset management plan, do they? Can you highlight those for us, the back of this, please?
I didn't print that off.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, sorry.
It's part of the 140 pages. I didn't print it off.
But I think you did a summary. The summary was good. I'm going to quickly highlight it for the public's information. I think is key. So 2024 replacement cost for the asset portfolio of the municipality of Marathon is $272 million. Replacement cost for infrastructure per household is $170,000. Because people, we do live in somewhat of a bubble still with our housing costs, and it's not a criticism, it's just reality. But the reality is this: when you look at something like this, 52% of the assets are fair or in better condition. 48, of course, a percentage of the assets are with the assessed condition data. $6.1 million annual capital infrastructure deficit each and every year. We're running a deficit of that because we're not replacing everything, and we can't afford to do that the best we can. 20 years recommended time frame to reach proposed levels of full service in regards to this estimate plan. So by the time you hit that 20 level, I think Mr. Council Lake just identified that. When you hit 20, you got to go back to the ones that are now 40 or 50 years old to start focusing on them again. So you're always playing catch up, no different than at your home. Targeted reinvestment rate of, to meet, as we already proved that, 1.6 levels of service and reinvestment rate of 3.03%. So the reality is we really have a lot of assets in our small little community, and for us to understand the impact it has for each and every homeowner is huge, right? So,
and then that's what the province had wanted. Again, asset management plan has been going for over 15 years, and so now that supposedly all municipalities have these plans, the policy gurus will go and talk to the province to say, you've got an issue to deal with.
we certainly do. And we're working on it slowly. And again, we just talked about that just briefly before your presentation about the actual ideal of getting those dollars. We can't do it ourselves. We know that our provincial and federal government, I say as our parents and grandparents, have to assist us in those bills. For us to go back to each every homeowner for the impact for those replacements is just unrealistic.
Right.
So we work with and we do get a substantial amount of funding right now from provincial and federal levels of government and the NORDS, OSIF, the OOO, Ontario Facility Partnership Fund, the gas tax. So those all help us offset our replacement costs with some of these assets, right?
Correct.
So, okay, thank you for that report. With the mover and second permission, I'll call the question. All in favor? Great, thank you. Up next, we have a report on the Finance and Public Works Facility. Mr. Verboek.
At the April 11th, 2023 meeting, council agreed to finance the construction of the facility with a loan from Ontario Infrastructure. Council approved the loan application with bylaw 2049 on April 24th of that year. Garage was completed in the fall of 2024. Final invoicing has just been processed. The cost to construct the Public Works garage was $11.3 million, of which $10,604,000 has been paid with a construction advance. The next step is to convert the advance into a debenture. Initial loan application assumed a 20-year term. Ontario Infrastructure does offer 20, 25, and 30-year debenture terms. Infrastructure Ontario has forwarded the request for a different term other than 20 to its underwriters. As of today's meeting, no decision has been made. The timetable for completing the debenture issuance is rigid. Next meeting of council is not until August 25th. The treasurer is asking council whether it wishes to proceed with a 20-year debenture or extend the terms to 25 or 30 years if possible or permissible. At the August 25th meeting, council will pass the debenture bylaw. Ontario Infrastructure will then prepare the final documents to be completed by September 2nd. Debenture rates fluctuate daily. The comparisons below assumes the daily rate of July 17th. So a 20-year term would end in 2045. The rate as of July 17th is 4.78%. Annual payments would be $629,000. Total interest on the $10.6 million project would be $6 million. If we ask for a 5-year extension to 2050, the rate goes to 4.93. The annual payment goes down by $86,000 to $742,000, and interest goes up by $2 million. Additional 5 years to 2055, interest rate is 5.01. The annual payment is decreased to $687,000, but interest over those 5 years is another $2 million. The monthly interest paid on the advance has fallen from $37,000 in January, and the composite prime rate was 5.627, and in July the rate is 4.95, so that's a reduction of $10,000 to $27,000 this month. It's forecast that the rate will not change for the remainder of the year, so interest rates should be approximately $362,000 for 2025. A decision on funding for the construction documents. Some of the other debt that we've incurred. So a decision on funding for construction documents for the Active Living Center, which is $3 million, will be made later on today. The debenture loan of $2 million at 2.81% will be paid off in 2030. Currently, we're paying $164,000 a year. And Peninsula Manor loan with TD Canada Trust at 3.587 will be paid off in 2048. Its current balance is $6.2 million. So the options are to proceed with converting the advance to a 20-year term. Annual payment for principal and interest would be more than $800,000. But interest costs of $2 million would be avoided if the term was not extended by 5 years. Or we can request Ontario Infrastructure to convert the advance into a 25 or a 30-year debenture if possible. Annual payments would be lower, so there would be less pressure on the annual property tax levy. But additional interest costs of $400,000 annually would require payments extending past 20 years. Administration is looking for council direction on which term the town of Marathon would like to enter into an agreement with Ontario Infrastructure for debenture in the principal amount of $10,604,000.
Ooh, a lot of numbers thrown out there, Mr. Verbo. Anyway, motion of council hereby approves the direction of administration regarding the term of the debenture in the principal amount of $10,604,214 associated with the public works facility construction. For the council indicate the preference to proceed with either a 20-year term as originally approved in April 2023, or a 25 or 30-year term if possible, subject to underwriting approval by the OILC. Moved by Councilor Witter, second by Councilor Lake. Questions of Mr. Verbo? Councilor Lake.
Yeah, I just wonder about thinking about this in the context of other bigger debt we're probably looking at, and what's the best course of action around also thinking about an ALC borrow as well, because I know there are borrowing limits that we had. I know there will be abilities to pay every year. So I just wonder if you set the context of what we can expect in everything. What's your advice or suggestion from the administration?
Well, everything is based on the annual repayment limit, which is based on the previous year's financial statements. And right now, what it is the maximum of 25% of your money that's generated, excluding monies from the province and the federal government. And then that is factored by the amount of principal and interest you're paying already.
So basically what he's saying is honestly is simply what the generation revenues that we're bringing in from taxation is what we can borrow at 25% rate.
But you know what I mean? Is it better to have a lower annual payment cost looking at the whole suite of things we have to do, or is it?
It's hard to say again, because the whole thing about making your kids pay and grandkids pay, it's, do you want to go for 20 years? But it'll be tough payment every year, because I'll come to your budget and say, before you start talking about inflation or whatever, you have to pay this $800,000
plus. Councilor Bell,
So we set the 20 years in 2023.
we agreed on it.
That's how we submitted the application for 20 years.
Okay, and is it, they're just giving us an option to change?
No,
No,
you could ask for
we're
changes.
asking.
And do you think that would be what you would
Well-
recommend? Because I'm assuming 20, get it done as fast as you can, even though it's heavier lifting, lift for less time. And
It's again, how the council wants to live with that decision. A debenture, once you've set the thing, it's done.
Done.
The underwriters will go and try and sell this debt on the open market, knowing that it'll be for 20
Okay.
years or 25 years or 30 years. So there's no change.
So I ask yourselves to consider yourself as a homeowner rather than a counselor at this point, say, what would you do as a homeowner? I know what I would do personally. I would want to pay more upfront at the $86,000 less per 5 years, pay an additional $2 million in interest and not.
Mhm.
So I understand about having to over a longer period of time, but the reality is just $2 million added onto our borrowing ability right off the bat.
Yeah.
$2 additional million. So that now restricts us in regards to the amount to borrow. So we put a little bit of pain in the 20 years for the $800 and some $1,000, $829 to pay back over 20, but also increases the amount of borrowing ability when you go to another.
Well, that's my fear.
Yeah.
And you can relate it to buying a car type of thing, where when I was much younger, the maximum thing you could finance a car was for 5 years. Now you can finance it for 7 years. And at the end of the 7 years, you got a lemon, or you got a car that's not worth much anymore by paying a lot of interest.
You missed a Model T. So.
Councilor Julian, do you have any questions, comments?
No, I mean, I look at the extra $2 million in interest, and I'm trying to get my head around what the actual impact would be for each householder, for each of those decisions, because we know we're going to have to increase taxes what's going to be the impact of those two decisions on, the individual tax levy, property tax levy.
So I think today's decision is based on what we think the affordability of the municipality going forward. 2026 budget is going to be a whole new scenario in regards to what does that look like for the municipality. We know we're going to have 829,000 plus 164 for the $2 million existing loan. Mr. Virgo identified the manor. The manor takes care of itself in general. There is some small amounts the municipality pays through with NOSH to have that facility operating. So that kind of loan is taken care of. So there's no real impact to our budget. There's a small amount, but there could be. The reality is it's on our books.
It's the elephant in the room.
It's on our books for $6.2 million existing. So the reality is we look at what we can do today and the affordability going forward and locked in for 20 years. That's the key message.
Your worship, and just to make sure council's aware, our landfill debenture, right, is due in 2030. Right, so that'll be freed up coming 2030 because it'll be paid off. Right, so keep
That's
that in mind.
164 roughly.
Correct.
So the 164 off of 829 is going to bring it down to just around 675,000. So much more manageable in 2030, but then what does it look like for the ALC going forward, right? But those numbers will have.
As long as we don't hamstring ourselves for the ALC.
Well, I think what Mr. Verbo said clearly is that when you look at the smaller amount of borrowing cost compared to the higher, so you add $2 more million onto your borrowing cost, that reduces your ability to borrow.
Okay.
Right?
It makes it it'll make it more challenging on the tax levy.
Absolutely.
But to Councillor Giuliano's statement, we'll deal with that as part of the 2026 budget.
And I think all of us would probably look at this as a homeowner and say, as a taxpayer going, yeah, I think I want to pay less $2 million of interest, regardless of our ability to borrow. It just doesn't make sense for us to pay $2 more million. We had talked before, and I said to Mr. Verbal, pay off the loan if you could, but you're looking at a rate of that $2 million at, what was it, 2.81. Why would you pay that loan off? When you're making more money now on your money in the bank. So there's that variable, right? So the motion reads that it will be brought back, as you heard from Mr. Verbal, on the August 25th meeting to finalize the bylaw. Motion will read that council hereby accept the 20-year term as really approved in the April 2023 budget processes. Everybody good with that?
You'll still be here 2043.
It's a good one, everybody. I'll call it.
Carol, you too.
Married is a chair.
I'll call the question. Yeah, all in favor? Good, thank you. Okay, up next we have the Active Living Design long-term financing of that facility as well, Mr. Verbal.
At last year's meeting on March 25th, council agreed to finance the design and engineering of the Active Living Center with a demand loan from TD Canada Trust. Council approved bylaw 2073 for $2.9 million to be completed by December 2024. Work wasn't completed then. At the March 24th meeting, council requested an increase to the limit to $3.5 million and extend the credit facility to the end of June. TD Canada Trust accepted their request. The design work was completed by June 30th. Current balance of the loan is $3,149,000. Repayment of the short-term demand loan must be formalized. The letter agreement with TD was for a maximum 25-year amortization. The options are to convert the loan into a variable rate loan or a fixed rate loan. Variable rate loan would be a composite prime rate less 0.75, which is currently 4.2%. The bank would need to amend the credit arrangement and arrange a small administrative fee. Variable loan has no monetary penalty should the town decide to make additional payments. A fixed rate loan allows the town to prepay up to 10% of the loan, which is around $315,000, anytime without any penalty. No decision has been made yet on whether to proceed with building the ALC. Estimated cost of construction exceeds $80 million. Municipality does not have the financial capability to proceed without grants. Should grants become available, there is a potential of paying off the loan. TD has provided term options to pay the $3 million principal in 25 years, which is in 2050. Again, the rates change daily and the amounts shown below assume the rates of July 18th. So a 2-year term, the interest rate is 3.85% and annual payments are $196,000. A 20-year term, the rate is 5.18 and the annual payment is $225,000. So the options are to proceed with converting the construction in advance to a 2-year fixed term. This is the lowest interest rate. This gives time for council to analyze different options, whether the project continues to construction or council decides not to proceed. Or we can establish a longer term loan at a locked in higher interest rate. The administration is recommending that council approves the conversion of the $3 million construction advance into a 2-year fixed term.
Thank you for that. I have a motion here that council hereby accepts the attached report recommendation of the Active Living Center design long-term financing cost. And further, that council approves the conversion of the $3.149 million construction advance into a 2-year fixed term loan, if that's agreeable. But I need to move a second put on the floor. Councilor Lake, Councilor Bounce, any questions? Anybody? Councilor Lake?
So that $3 million, and the ALC goes forward, we can just roll that in to whatever kind of final payment suite we have, and it'll just be absorbed in there.
Hopefully that's
scenario, right?
Hopefully that's an option. That's what I'm envisioning whenever making my recommendation.
And 2 years gives us that window to get that done. That makes a ton of sense.
Anybody else? Look, very clear. We got a 2-year loan to make sure that once we get into the build funding from provincial and federal dollars, we then look at what our ability is to borrow that 1, 2, 3, 10 million, whatever that is needed. We roll this loan into that and pay it back over a 30-year mortgage, like anybody else would with their home in regards to that facility.
So to clarify, this is a 25-year loan, but right now we're locking in for just 2 years.
Right. And after the 2-year period, we can renegotiate or move it out of there and put it into another loan.
After the 2 years,
Correct.
once, because we won't be incurring any construction costs in the next 12 months anyways, right?
So no, so it's just simply that 2-year lock-in for that $195,000 a year. So long we're clear, we're paying $196,000 for the next 2 years of that loan. And then we'll roll it in hopefully into a long-term debt device that's going to pay for by the rate period for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever that mortgage looks like on the ALC. Right?
Yes.
You're the numbers guy.
Well, again, that all depends on what council decides at the next strategy meeting and how it's incorporated in the 2026 budget.
Absolutely. But for now, we're locking this in for 2 years with the TD Bank.
Yeah, and the other thing, it also, obviously, there's the potential for new economic development around a number of projects in Marathon. We look at, mining or the port development. So this just gives us the time to strategize, gives us the best interest rate at the current time, and then allows us with a new term of council as well to relook at it from a longer term perspective.
Okay.
That's it, Mr. Treasurer, we're not spending any more money today. That's all you get.
I'm this is being recorded.
This is being recorded. Of course it is. No other questions?
That makes sense.
Okay. All good?
In support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry. Okay, up next we have a motion here on accounts payable, check requests for the registers of June 2025, accounts payable in the amount of $985,729.82 and payable in the amount of $217,587.05. Moved by Councilor Balance, by Councilor Wheeler. Any questions on those accounts payable and check runs? Hearing none, call a question. All in favor? Carried. Verbal update on my attendance at the Thunder Bay District Municipal League. I'm still your rep on that, the committee, and as the executive or as a past president, I have of course taken on the role of NOMA presidency. We met in O'Connor Township, which is really unique. I haven't been out there that far out into the country, and so it's quite a different world when you take 30 kilometers outside the city of Thunder Bay. You're in farmland, and it's amazing what a difference in everything out there. It's great afternoon and a great host of the municipal O'Connor. We talked about the minutes of the previous meetings. Ken Ranta was there on behalf of the Thunder Bay District Social Service Administration Board. Talked about the levy, homelessness, scope outside the city, childcare capacity within the district, budgets, financing, what's going to cost us for all the services that the DSAP provides, and the services that DSAP provides as well for Ontario Works, childcare, and homes, home situations. Talked a lot about the Thunder Bay scenario with impacting on the transition homes and the homelessness and mental health in our communities. Of course, DSAP doesn't deal with the mental health aspect, but it falls under our umbrella because under the Mental Health Act, a lot of people are homeless because of their mental health capacity. So it was a really good, it was an hour and a half actually, and it was very interesting, and I talked about it. It's funny when part of that whole homelessness scenario talked about the city shelters are not oversubscribed. They're undersubscribed right now because people don't want to go to a shelter. So when you look at the available beds and shelters in the city of Thunder Bay, there's no need for anybody to be on the street. But people choose not to be on the street, choose to be on the street because they don't want to follow the rules and regulations of shelters, you know, with the timelines of being in, the drug use, alcohol use, the various things within a shelter and rules. So there's a real battle there going on. So that was very good discussion around that. Talked a bit about some of the boards that we sit on and appointments to those boards. The North Superior Workforce Planning Board, of course, Gary Christian talked a bit about the importance of that in the region, the impact of, from NOMA's perspective, over 8,000 jobs in Northern Ontario are vacant right now, 8,000. It sounds crazy, but that's reality. That's all of Northern Ontario. That's not just Northwestern, but talked a bit about the Eastern rep for NOMA. That was Dan McGrath out of Shriver, is now going to be the new Eastern rep. So he'll be representing NOMA from the Thunder Bay District Civil League. Follow up on municipalities express positive procedures regarding dog control. We had a bit of chat about that. A lot of municipalities are faced with the same dilemma. Who looks after the dogs? Working with the city of Thunder Bay, working with the shelter there. They will take emergency animals, but it's a cost and it's a service that we all don't have, but we know we have a lot of municipalities, a lot of people in our municipality with animals, and we're very lucky that the vet was approved for the location where they were with the change in the Planning Act to allow that to be built, because everybody who has a pet realizes you cannot get a doc or a vet look after your animal. It's almost impossible. No different than us humans. Animals are in the same scenario. So that was a big discussion around that. Just talked a bit about the ongoing business of the league, the strategic planning. We've been talking and working on our strategic plan for the last year, and it's in conjunction with NOMA and of course the three other districts, the two other, the Rainy River and the Kenora districts, as well as the city of Thunder Bay. So that's all coming together, and then of course our next meeting will be in Chunya on September 20th. Any questions? Good. Okay. I have no other business. I do have an announcement that we will be going in camera right after this public meeting to discuss acquisition of disposition plans and advice subject to the solicitor's client privilege in a closed meeting of council. So with that being said, I will call the meeting adjourned at the hour of 4:35 p.m. Over. Council Lake, second by Council Gaines. Thank you very much. Have a good night.